This is a video on administrative housekeeping before using ASEBA-Web, ASEBA-PC, or ASEBA-Network. Once you have purchased one of our products and you've logged in, I'm going to be using ASEBA-Web for the example of this video. Administrators should go to the Administration tab, which is only viewable to them, and click on Manage Users to add all users that are going to use the program. These are not just clinicians, these are all users. So there's a lot of administrative staff that actually use this program. So anyone who's going to use the program, you should add them here. And you should click on New. You will create the username. You will add the role, which is administrative or regular user, do the first name, last name, and email. You will create a password for that user. And right now I have the defaults as the password having 10 characters. It must contain an uppercase and a lowercase. And in the case of if you are resetting a password for a user, the default is that they can't use the last 3 passwords that have been used already. You would create a password, and then also it is optional if you want to check off requires multi-factor authentication, which would make the users have to get a code from their phone to be able to log into the program. So once you have created a user, they'll come over here in the column on the left, and this is what you will see. I created a user called Jacob Peterson. You'll see all of their information that you created. And at the top, you will see the menu that is available to you in regards to the users you created. Down here, I want to point out the password expired is checked off. This means that when you create a username and a password for a user, and when password expired is checked, which it is default, it's checked, that means that when the user logs in with the username and password that you created for them, it will automatically ask them to reset the password into something that is unknown to you. You can change this if you'd like. If you uncheck this, the user can use the username and password that you created for them, and they won't have to reset the password. So that is optional for you. Here I can show you enable, disable. You can disable a person. And enable them if they have been disabled. So if anybody leaves the program or leaves the organization and you need to disable them, you are not able to delete them because HIPAA wants an audit trail. So you would have to check this box and click change, and then they would be disabled. Here is the edit. You're able to edit the username, edit the first, last name, email, and mobile phone. Under set role, this is where you can change what you have set previously. You can change it to administrator or regular user. We do suggest you have 2 administrators, as one may leave the organization, one may be on vacation, and there may be some users that need their passwords reset, or there may be new people that have come into the organization that need to be created. Also, you'll have the expired password. This is where you would uncheck the password expired, and then the user could log in with the username and password that you created for them. Otherwise, it's going to prompt them to choose a new password. Multi-factor authentication. These are the countries right here on the left that can do this. If you're from a country that's not on this list, you will not be able to use multi-factor authentication. And then set password if anybody needs to have their password reset. Also know that every user can click on I forgot my password link that is under the login spaces, and that will send them a link to their email so they can reset their own password. But if they are having trouble, you can reset the password for them, and you can do that right here. Okay, I'm going to close out of here. The next process that the administrator should do is to click on Administration, Manage Account Settings, and Manage Password Settings. There is default already set within the program of the password expiring after 365 days. The number of most recent passwords that can't be reused is 3. The minimum password length is 10 characters. The password must contain uppercase and lowercase. The number of failed attempts before they get locked out is 5, and the time span of lockout is 30 minutes. This can all be changed. On the right here, you will see the allowed range. So admin can change any of these of what you would like them to be. Then you would click Save. Then also the next process would be creating the drop-down list of either agencies, clinicians, or schools, or actually customizing a drop-down list that you want. All of these will be appearing on the add form, and I'll show that a little bit later. The least you should do is at least do clinicians, because everyone in the organization, a clinician list should be created. So you'd go to Administration, Manage Dictionaries, and click on Clinicians. And you would click New, and you would create everyone's name that is a clinician in the organization that's going to use the program. And they will go over here on the left. For example, I made Daniel McCabe as a clinician. You can enable and disable them, and you can also edit them. So the next step would be to be able to better organize your assessed people. Assessed people are going to show up here on the left. Here I'll expand my root folder. I have some directories already created, and I've got some assessed people that are already been created underneath this particular directory. So what an administrator should do is they should create directories to organize the assessed data, the assessed person data. So you can create directories for different buildings, different organizations, different clinicians, different families. You know, it's up to you, whatever you would like. Just for example, created just different families. The outside of the directories, if you don't want to create directories, the assessed people will show up individually here, and you'll notice that it'll have a person icon next to it, whereas the directory will have the folder. And when you open the folder, you'll see all of the assessed people within. Once the users start using the program, they need to click on Start a New Assessment, which I have a different video for that, which will show you how to add an assessed person, add a form, add an informant, and send that informant a letter. That would be for ASEBA-Web, ASEBA-PC, and ASEBA-Network. You are using paper forms, so the option to send the form out by email is not available to you. It's only in ASEBA-Web. So to show you where your list will be, once you have already used the Start a New Assessment wizard and you have created a user, I'll say this is Jacob Markin that I have created. I have already sent out different forms. I have like 3 CBCLs that I've sent out for Jacob Martin, and I need to add another form. So you would only use Start a New Assessment wizard if you're starting with a new assessed person. If you've already created the person and you need to add multiple forms to that person, you're just going to click on Add Form. So here's where I'm going to show you where the drop-down lists are. So if I click on Add Form to Jacob Martin, here is, you'll see clinician, agency, schools, and if you created your own custom drop-down, they would be here. So here is the drop-down clinician list, you know, the agency list, the school list that I had created ahead of time. So when you create these lists, this is where it'll show up in the Add Form window. So this has been a video on administrative housekeeping before using ASEBA-Web, ASEBA-PC, and ASEBA-Network.